The newest installment in the Kung Fu Panda film series has been released in theaters last week, and I finally had the opportunity to check this film out and finally review it for you guys, and whether it is worth seeing on the big screen or not. So let's get into the review. Welcome back, film fans. It is Brad from Let's Be Real with Brad. I talk about movies, TV shows, and other movie-related content. So if that sounds super awesome-tacular, then be sure to hit that subscribe button, leave a like on this video, and ring that notification bell so I can never miss you guys in a new video. Kung Fu Panda 4 is the fourth installment in the Kung Fu Panda film series, as it stars once again Jack Black as Po, along with Awkwafina, Bryan Cranston, Ian McShane, James Hong, Quan. The film is directed by Mike Mitchell, who also directed previous DreamWorks animation films like the first Trolls film and Shrek Forever After. Going into Kung Fu Panda 4, I was ecstatic to see this film, as it was part of my most anticipated films of this year, and rightfully so. Kung Fu Panda is a massive franchise and definitely one that has resonated with me since I was a kid, because I saw the first one with my mom and my brother in 2008 when it was released in theaters, and I have seen all of the movies since and rewatched them and just love them so much. They are very near and dear to my heart, and so being able to rewatch the first three films before this one, it just showcased how great these films really are and how consistent those movies are as well, with great villains and great characters, and with Jack Black being so perfect as Po. I could not get enough of these films. So being able to finally check this movie out, I will have to say that this movie is a little bit of a disappointment because it's just not as good as those first three films, and I have to say that it is a bit of a step down, but it's really not all that bad, but I wouldn't say it's all that good as well. What I think this film really lacks is the fact that this movie doesn't feature the Furious Five, which is very evident because in the marketing with the trailers and the posters, the Furious Five aren't in it. And it's not much of a spoiler to know that they're not in this movie at all. Like, they mention in the beginning what they're doing and their side quests, and you really do miss them in this film, because with having a film with just Po does work, but without that team together that we have seen in the previous three films, it does feel very lacking in my opinion, and it just doesn't have the same heart and feel as those first three films. So first, let's dive into all my positives I have with this film, and I do have to start with the voice acting, as the voice acting in all these films is great, and that is nonetheless with this film, as Jack Black is just a fantastic actor. We all know this, but when he voices Po, he is just so good. I absolutely love how he plays this character. He loves this character so much. You can feel that energy and just the tenacity, tenacious D within his performance, and it just shows with the marketing, with how much praise that he talks about with the Kung Fu Panda series. And he also voiced Po in one of the Kung Fu Panda television shows, which I have yet to watch and have to add to my never-ending watch list of things to watch. He is Po, and I couldn't see anyone else voicing this character. And I also love Bryan Cranston, who plays his dad from the previous film, James Hong, who plays his other dad, and you have the addition of Awkwafina in the newest character that she plays, which I actually thought she was really great, even though she has been in a lot of animated films as of late, and she isn't the best. I'll admit it, she's a little bit annoying, but I do think that her voice acting in this film was really good here, and definitely toned down than I would say something like Raya and the Last Dragon. Viola Davis voices the villain of the film, Chameleon, and I thought she was great. I mean, she can literally do anything. She can play a fantastic villain character, as we see here, a very dark character like Amanda Waller from the Suicide Squad, and so she could just really do it all, and I thought her voice acting was tremendous, as she normally would be in any other film. The animation in this movie is fantastic, as the budget for this film is actually lower than the other Kung Fu Panda films if you were to adjust it for inflation, which was really a smart thing for DreamWorks Animation to do, you, especially because you're making a movie that is all these years later and it's a big IP like Kung Fu Panda, but you don't know how big this movie is going to be financially, especially with so many flops that happened last year. This was a really smart move, and it's showing off with how much this movie is making, and this movie still looks great. The action sequences are fantastic. The character designs are amazing. It looks completely professional. It is a really great film to look at, especially with this 3D CGI animation that has been changing in the past few years because of Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse. But this film just still looks great, and especially comparative to the other Kung Fu Panda films, it still has that same consistency that DreamWorks Animation usually has with their films, and it is a great sight to look at. This film also has excellent pacing, as this movie is around an hour and a half, which is the same as the other Kung Fu Panda films, and that is something that I really enjoyed. You still feel that energy and the pace from those films, and it goes by so fast. If you're looking for just a fun movie to watch at the theater and you just want a ton of energy, then this is the movie to do it, because there is so much that happens in this movie. Kids will be entertained. I was entertained, but it doesn't feel like just a stigma rush of just things that are happening on the screen and it's just dumb and stupid. Like, it's still a really entertaining family movie that is out there, and I really appreciate that as an audience member. While this film isn't the funniest of the Kung Fu Panda series, I still thought this movie had a few jokes here and there that were pretty funny, but this movie didn't land all of the jokes, which I will talk about in my criticism section of the review. But I still found this movie to have this genuine feel of these characters, like the people who made this movie actually cared about the Kung Fu Panda series, and it's not just for money. And that is not something I always feel about many sequels, especially today. Unfortunately, I do have a few criticisms with this film, and I do have to start with the story, as I found the story to be really generic and lacking, and definitely wasn't the most, I would say, thought about part when they were making this film, because the story is something you have seen 100 different times before. And when I really enjoy the stories of all the Kung Fu Panda films, this one didn't really offer all that much. It really feels just like a side quest of a film. It really feels like a spin-off movie, even though it's not. And I just didn't really care about what was going on all that much. Like, I really enjoy seeing Po and interact with all the characters, and there's some fun moments here and there, but as a whole, I didn't feel as emotionally invested as I did with the other films. And I know you're probably thinking, oh, Bryan, it's just a kid's movie. Blah, 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 blah. You're an adult. But when I still watch the other Kung Fu Panda movies, or the Toy Story films, or even the Spider-Verse films, I can still feel that emotion. So it really is just no excuse here. It's just that there's not that emotional attachment that I really had in this movie, because this movie doesn't really earn it. And it just felt like another sequel that's just released, and that was just really unfortunate. Now, going back to the comedy, this is easily the least funny Kung Fu Panda film, as I just didn't think this movie was all that funny. There's a lot of jokes that are obviously made for the younger kids, and of course they're going to enjoy it, but there wasn't a lot of humor that really worked for me. I don't need adult jokes to have it be funny. I just want it to be funny. I don't really care how they do it, just want it to be funny. And it just felt very lacking. It just felt like the writing wasn't all there for this film, as it was with the dialogue, where there's a lot of characters that just overly explain things, which wasn't really an issue with the first three films. So I really think it's just more of, you have a different team that's just making this film, and it's just not the same. And for a lot of kids, they're probably not going to care. They're really going to enjoy this movie. There's a ton of great action, and there are some enjoyable moments. It's not a bad movie, but it's just not as good as those first three films, and I just think I found myself just a little disappointed in that way. While I did enjoy the villain of Chameleon in this film, Chameleon is just not as good of a villain when you compare it to someone like Tai Lung, who also shows up in this movie. He's in the trailer, he's on the poster, or even like Lord Shen from the second film, and so on and so forth. Chameleon is a really cool character and design and great voice acting, but doesn't feel like Chameleon matters to the main story like the other films, where they feel like they have a more integral part to the story and they show up more. This just feels like another villain that just shows up, almost like how Marvel Studios does some of their villains, where they're like in the movie, they show up a little bit, but it's really just about our main heroes and then they fight. I just think the character of Chameleon could have been written much better for this film. Overall, guys, Kung Fu Panda is an enjoyable, fun, animated family film that I do think you should go see on the big screen, especially being one of the few family films that is out right now. And if you really enjoy Kung Fu Panda, then you should definitely go see it. I mean, this movie isn't amazing or anything, but if you lower your expectations, I do think you can have a fun time watching this movie on the big screen with a ton of snacks. And especially if this movie is short as it is, you might as well just go see it, especially because I do think DreamWorks Animation did put effort into this film, and there are some really fun and awesome moments within here, especially if you are a Kung Fu Panda fan, and there's some really great action sequences that are some of the best of the whole series. So I'm going to be giving Kung Fu Panda 4 a 5 out of 10. Thank you guys so much for checking out this review. As I want to know below in the comment section, have you seen Kung Fu Panda 4? And if you have, let me know all of your thoughts. I would love to hear about it. And as always, I will see you guys all in the next video.